Good evening, and thank you very much for inviting both myself and Claire Burgess, who really has been responsible for all this. So, you know, I'm a charlatan by being up here talking to you. So, what I want to do is just set the scene a little bit about Real Ideas Organisation, RIO, and the Column Bakehouse is just one of the things that we do. So, just it's probably useful just a little quick canter through some of the other stuff. So, a lot of the stuff we do is really around enabling other people to become socially enterprising. Lots of work in schools with children and with schools, lots of work increasingly in a whole range of interesting organisations, housing associations, local authorities, a lot of work at Mount Derriford Hospital, which, and what we say we're doing is helping people to develop socially enterprising skills. And what that's really about is how to be innovative, think about the social, and think about how you pay for it all at the same time. Sort of not that difficult, I guess, in one way, but also something which quite a lot of the structures of the way that we organise society have maybe not helped people to necessarily do. So, as well as all the stuff we do to enable and support other people to be socially enterprising, we also have our own social enterprise ventures. So, I don't know how many of you have been down to the Devonport Guildhall. If you're, yay! And some people here have, obviously on the audience across the webinar. If you haven't, Devonport was one of the most deprived areas of Plymouth. Here are some images of what it was like. And when we arrived, the Devonport Regeneration Company have been doing a fantastic job of sorting out quite a lot of the housing, but there were a number of buildings which nobody had use for, including the Guildhall, which is the one in the top left-hand corner with the columns. That's what it looks like now, and this is maybe about 5 years we've been involved with it. And really what we've done is to try and find a way of repurposing the building and turning it into quite a vibrant, creative, social enterprise centre. We named it that. I'm not sure we knew what it was at the time, but it's sort of grown into itself. And so within, there it is again, and so alongside the Devonport Guildhall was also the column, and that has become a visitor attraction. If I'm honest, that's one of the things I'm probably most proud about. Slightly weird, you know, long, tall granite column and people can walk up it to see the view. But when we arrived, lots of people said to us, if you could do something about the Devonport column, that's a real symbol of the pride of this community. And the fact that it's all tatty and surrounded by barbed wire and we can't go up it is something we feel very sad about. So if you do something about that, that'd be great. So with a grant from the Heritage Lottery Fund, who were completely brilliant, we've restored it, and it is now a visitor attraction. And every week, most days, people turn up and pay a very small amount of money and walk up to the top. And I think sort of weird, but the idea that if you'd said to anybody 10 years ago there will be a visitor attraction in Devonport, I think they would probably have laughed at you. So it's you know, that's quite important and symbolic. Okay, and then inside the Guildhall we do a number of things. So there's an events business and weddings and all sorts of different activities. But we also were very keen to find some way of having food as part of what went on in there. Just, you know, pretty basic. You know, if you're going to do something which becomes a centre, having somewhere nice to go and eat some nice food and sit and talk to your friends is pretty important. We started off with a cafe. It didn't work that well, really because there actually wasn't that much footfall in the area. And sort of think about, this is even before the column opened, so you wouldn't really come to Devonport very much. So we began to think about what could we do in terms of a food offer that might address the fact that we weren't going to have loads of passing trade, but that we really recognised that food was important. We wanted to create training. We really wanted to create jobs, and maybe there was in the market, which was really around the time that there were quite a lot of artisan bakers developing in other parts of the area, but not in Plymouth. So we thought to ourselves, right, a bakehouse. When we started out, we had quite an interesting conversation, which will probably be familiar to other social enterprises or other people who run buildings, which is, do you do it yourself or do you lease out the space to somebody else who is going to come in with a fully fledged offer. There were quite a lot of debates about that, and in the end we felt that it was important to us, probably partly because we were a social enterprise, that our values came through the food. So therefore it was important to us that the food was locally sourced, it was fresh, it was proper bread, real bread, no preservatives, all of those sorts of things. And also that we wanted the Colin Bakehouse brand to support and amplify what we were trying to do in terms of the whole social enterprise. So we decided that we would do it ourselves, and we employed a baker and took the risk. And it, not to be underestimated, the sort of risk of starting out thinking, right, you've got to pay a salary and find all the ingredients and then start to sell the bread. That was what it looked like at the time. For those of you who haven't been down there, this is actually the old morgue within the Devonport Guildhall. See the nicely curved tiles in the corners. Apparently it's good for washing the blood off. But actually, as an interesting environment, it was great. But we really did start off with basics. So we had a second-hand single rack bread oven, which is sort of in the corner, you can't quite see it. IKEA table, various sort of things that were borrowed. I don't think they were stolen, but not the loss. And off we went. And we thought to ourselves, well, the thing we've got to do, is actually to find out, how much of a market there is for the bread. What we found was that people loved the bread. That actually we started to sell more and more. It started to become something which people were coming to us actually from quite long distances. Again, we were quite surprised. We were thinking, well, people wouldn't really travel that far, but actually there were some of them coming in from Cornwall in order to buy it. So at that point, we decided that it was important to think about growth. The Plymouth City Council Social Investment Fund came along, and that was massive and huge. Thank you to Jane, who is sat there. That was a really important part of what enabled us to expand, because essentially there was a social investment fund who were interested in investing in social enterprises, therefore interested in social impact as much as the enterprise angle of it, and have been incredibly flexible about the way they've worked. And I do think that is massive and huge, and a real testament to the City Council's commitment to social enterprise, that as a city we have that fund, and that is something that is enabling a number of social enterprises to actually be able to grow. We also, one of the other things that came up, Claire negotiated with a wholesale distributor. So one of our problems was, great, there was the bread, somebody walked in, bought a load of bread, off they went. But if we wanted to actually expand significantly, then how were we going to get the bread from the bakery to wherever, given that it could be quite a wide area. So Claire's negotiated an arrangement with a wholesale distributor, but we couldn't actually sign up with the wholesale distributor until we knew that we were actually going to be able to fulfil the contract and the demand as it came through. So quite chicken and egg sort of stuff. Another thing which made us think, right, there is really an opportunity to take here, were the changes that were going on in Devonport. Get a bit bored about Devonport sometimes, because I just think it's the best bit of the city. But it is really interesting as you walk round that there are so many shifts and changes. Yes, lots of housing is being built, people are starting to do different things. Devonport Park is doing all sorts of amazing things, there's stuff going on down at Mount Wise. And so there's a sort of feeling of an area which is really beginning to move and change. Obviously the South Yard coming out of the Dockyard ownership as well is a major thing on the horizon. So we thought to ourselves, okay, we can take the risk. And we wanted to take the risk, not just because we wanted to grow, but actually because the reason we're doing this is in order to create more jobs, more opportunities within that area. And so in the end, for us as a social enterprise, just sort of settling for, a couple of jobs, it's all very nice, we'll put it along, wasn't really an option. So, there it is, that's what it looks like now. It's been completely transformed. As you can see, we've now got proper 5-rack big oven, which allows us to make a very large number of those. I'm not sure how many, but it's a very large number. Big mixers, and the whole space is being used for production. And that's it from the front. And it's, so we now have the capacity to start to produce really quite large numbers of loaves, and we're selling through the wholesale distributor and gradually finding our way to marketing more and more what we do. Why has it worked? I think it's worked because there was a gap in the market. It is an excellent product, and at the end of the day, that's probably the most important thing for all of us. You know, we want to create excellent products, excellent services, and the fact that we're social enterprises is an added benefit. It's not an either-or. Brilliant team who are involved in all of this, and some really fantastic partnerships. I could go on and sort of learn about lots of them. I think interesting for us that also partnerships which have sometimes just been the right thing at the right time. So we work with an organisation called Zebra, who they run a Fairport stall down at the Pannier Market. Doesn't sound much, but they're down there selling locally sourced produce in the centre of town, and they're selling our bread down there. And right at the beginning, they did it, and they kept doing it. And so those little things, as well as the big partnerships, have been really, really important. And it's really hard work, which never stops. So there is something about just keeping doing it. Social impact we've created, so it's created 7 new jobs, and remember this is just the bakehouse. Rio itself has created quite a lot more jobs, but it has created 7 new jobs in Devonport. Lots of different types of training and learning opportunities. The bread brings visitors to Devonport as much as the column, and obviously there is impact around the fact that the food is good food. We're also increasingly beginning to develop a range of other partnerships. So Use Your Loaf is a new initiative which is basically linking up with charities. So the idea is that any one time we're going to be producing a loaf, and that particular loaf, when people buy it, you know, a contribution will go to that charity. Where next? We've got very excited about cargo bikes. I don't know if anybody has seen them, but they're these great bikes that have got this sort of big, sort of like a trunk on the front. So soon you will see one whizzing around, well, hopefully whizzing, I think it's got an electric motor on it, whizzing around Plymouth, branded up with the Column Bakehouse. That's being supplied by Bike Space, which is fantastic, another social enterprise who are doing great stuff as well. We're about to launch a subscription scheme, so we're really interested in how can we enable, particularly people who are working in large organisations in the city, to sign up to buy bread, and we will deliver it sort of in bulk to each of those organisations. So any of you who are from big organisations, sorry, you're all going to get targeted. Claire has gone on a beekeeping course, so we're all getting a bit excited about the idea of bread and honey. I'm quite sure when that one's going to come, and then other new products. Bakery school, and then obviously for us in that area, you know, more sort of development projects, because there's a lot of empty buildings in Devonport that need things happening with. And all of it is creating apprenticeships, training and new jobs. And that, just to leave you with a final look, is the next building. So this is the market building. So the picture on the right and the top, there you can just about see a building with sort of triangular roof. That's the marketplace. That's another unused building in Devonport, and we are working with the university, with lots of digital media companies, with City College, with Devonport High School Boys, with lots of other people to turn it into a digital centre for Plymouth and the area, which of course will have great bread there too as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.